I would like to mention that we are currently on the unceded land of the Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, and Coquitlam First Nations peoples. It's important to remember this when we're talking about the history of Bert Flinn Park. Unfortunately, there wasn't much history for me to find in the Indigenous perspectives of this park, but Bert Flinn, who is the honorary named person of this park, really believed in creating a society like that involved. He really worked hard with the public library. He really advocated for transit system and delivery services, including milk, as well as the Historical Society of Port Moody.
So on our walk through Bert Flinn Park here in Bert Flinn Park in Port Moody, we're walking through a park that is on the border of a housing development, as you can see behind us. We noticed this old tree stump where the fence was actually built around it instead of removing the stump. And it's kind of indicative of, you know, human built and wild converging in this one area. And we were saying how amazing it was because we thought it was indicative of the Port Moody community wanting to respect nature and having a deeper sense of connection to the wild. But then on further reflection, Cairo pointed out that it might actually have been cheaper to just build a fence around the stump than removing it. So we were kind of wondering, you know, is this a function of ease of effort, or is it indicative of respect for nature?
So one of the things that speaks to me walking down this trail is that all the trees are leaning over and covering the path. So to me, it feels like the trees are protecting us. They're giving us shelter from whatever, and they're speaking back to us. So they're giving us a sense of protection. And then it makes me think of, like, if the trees are helping us and giving to us, like, what are we doing to protect them?
So upon walking through Bert Flinn Park, we started to realize that this is a man-made trail throughout the park.
Yeah, so it's kind of a union between the built and the wild, and as we were exploring further, a group of students came through either from Eagle Mountain or Heritage Woods, the high school, and it's clear that the community is trying to interact with this built/wild space, but then there's a question of whether it's actually respectful in that way, because the trail isn't meant to be destructive in any sort of way, but are we displacing animals that would normally be here because of the trail? It's a beautiful soft green moss on it. accented by the lichen,
Lichen.
which is a nice mint green.
So you can tell that it rained either recently, maybe yesterday. And this part is rough, so you can cut yourself. Be careful.
So as we were walking through Bert Flinn Park, we were experiencing lots of senses, and one of the beautiful ones that follows us all through the park is the sound of the stream. So as we parked, we had the cars and the sounds of the vehicles and stuff going by, and then as we got further into the park, we started to focus more on the stream that we have here, and the wind rushing through the trees, and then all the people interacting with us, like the dogs, and the people, and the students that came through. So there's lots of sounds and lots of senses.
Hi, doggy. See?
Oh, so good.
That's so funny. We thought it was important for us to film in this direction, as we've shown a lot of nature in this film, but I wanted to kind of bring it back to the idea that this is a man-made area, but also it's very important because we are right by the school, so that is an important part of the environment here. The animals in here hear the children playing, but also we can as well. It kind of helps us reflect on where we put our parks in relation to our community as well.
Okay, we're standing in the entrance of Bert Flinn Park, and this is kind of a sign that talks about it, and you can see on the map, it's right here. So this is the trail that goes all the way around. Bert Flinn Park is 311 acres, so it's quite an expansive park. It's the largest one in Port Moody. If you look here, this is Ioko Road, and the ocean's right here. So for anyone that's driven along Ioko, if you haven't, to put in perspective, this is Ioko Road, and over here is Rocky Point Park, more well known, ice cream and breweries and different things. So anyway, so if you go over here, it's Ioko Road, and Bert Flinn Park's up here, and the trail's around here, and by Heritage Woods School. So there's been a lot of controversy surrounding Bert Flinn Park in regards to development. So and this has lasted decades now. It's been a very long time that's been going on. In 2016, there was the largest protest at City Hall in Port Moody that Port Moody's ever had. People brought signs, which is funny because we found one here. Not sure if this is one from the protests or what it is, but it's been a big issue in order to save the park. And yeah, it's a guess, but this could be from students since we're adjacent to a high school and a middle school. Yeah, might not be, but anyway, shows the activism in the community to save this green space because it's important for lots of different people in the Port Moody community and beyond. Yeah, so that was 2016, the largest protest happened. Then in 2018, there was a vote basically, and our new mayor was being elected, so it was between Rob Vagramoff and Mike Clay, one that wanted to protect the park and one that did not. The results of the vote was that Vagramoff got elected in office, and which was great because he wanted to protect the park. Unfortunately, shortly after that, some sexual assault allegations came out from multiple women, and somehow he's still in office, so that's a whole other problem we won't delve into now. But yeah, the certainty of the park is very much unknown. There's a Save Bert Flinn Park website that advocates for this. There's been quotes from David Suzuki and other ecological activists about the park. Another thing from then researching further, because I knew about this, I've lived in Port Moody my whole life, so I knew from 2016 and 2018 these different events had happened. I didn't realize actually that coming up 2019, so I'm pretty sure end of this year, but I mean that date could be moved back, there's going to be an Ioko proposal development project which will really because I guess the whole argument was there hasn't been enough research done to show will putting a road through actually alleviate traffic. So they've done more research and getting a different developmental proposal, which could really jeopardize the future of this park depending on what the results are and whoever's in power and office at the time, because things are obviously unknown with such allegations, what will happen to the park. So yeah, it'll be very interesting in the next few months, potential war abroad, or maybe sometime next year if there are further protests. But yeah, Bert Flinn Park is definitely important to our community, and we enjoyed our walk through it and enjoying the space.
A word from David Suzuki. Dear Port Moody, when I came to your beautiful city in the late 90s to help advocate for the protection of natural spaces along your hillsides, I stood alongside a growing movement that valued the protection of nature over continued urban sprawl. I have always been proud to have played a small part in protecting a bit of nature in your community, since named Bert Flinn Park. I can't tell you how depressing it has been to follow this story through to the present day. I had hoped that my advocacy and the voices of thousands of Port Moody nature lovers who joined me to rally then voted in the referendum to create the park would help kickstart a long-term shift and impact your public servants. At first, a shift in values seemed to take root as you created Bert Flinn Park in an overwhelming referendum success. You replaced your City Hall's old guard with new representatives, many of whom work to protect this natural gem. Now, the waves of destructive development pound at the doors of your City Hall once again. The very politicians who responded to my message in the 90s are proving that they really didn't get it after all, holding onto an outdated scheme to slice the park in half with a road, undercutting its delicate ecosystem and diminishing it for your children's children. All to support a developer's desire for car-centric urban sprawl. A shame. I've been saying for years that environmentalists like me have failed to shift the relationship between our political institutions and our natural world, and in the case of Bert Flinn Park is a prime example of how we should be expecting better. Our very survival, health, and well-being, to say nothing of the economy, are utterly dependent on clean air, water, soil, sunlight, and other species. Since I gave that talk in Port Moody, we have learned our children suffer from nature deficit disorder if they don't get out into nature. In Japan, the tradition of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is covered by their medical plan because being among the trees has medical benefit. If we keep elevating our institutions above these things, then this battle will never end. I'm only one person, and I'm near the end of my time on Earth. If what I did to help in the 90s was useful, you are now the legacy. The chance to embrace long-term sustainability and the protection of your local natural environment is in your hands. It's your time to show wise leadership and to choose leadership wisely. Sincerely, David Suzuki.